What's up, guys? Welcome back to Airbnb ABCs. Today we're going to talk about what is quite literally can be the million-dollar question. How much is that property that you're looking at going to produce on Airbnb and VRBO and just in general being leased as a short-term rental? But first, if you guys haven't subscribed yet, subscribe down below, hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything that I put out on our Airbnb business, how to run an Airbnb business, and just the trials and tribulations of being in the short-term rental game. Now, when you guys are looking for properties, when you're out there searching the internet, searching realtor.com, whatever you're doing, the first thing that you're going to want to do to make sure that you are going to be able to get the most money out of your Airbnb rental is to make sure that you're buying properties that are going to give your guests the experience that they're looking for. These are the top end properties in any given vacation market. And just because you may not be able to afford the $1 to $3 million ones, you can still buy top tier properties that are a little smaller, maybe 1 or 2 bedroom that are anywhere from say $350 to $650 or $700,000 that are able to give them that experience. What I mean by that is, like, for example, if you're going to the mountains, most people going to the mountains are going to want to stay in a cabin in the woods type of situation. That's a very typical vacation type of activity, is the cabin in the woods. And so when you look at our properties that we have in the Smoky Mountains, they are all log cabin style buildings. The one that we have is actually, it's a legitimate log cabin. It sits at the top of a mountain. The interior is all wood. The exterior is all wood, and it has wood burning fireplaces. It has a very cabin-y vibe because it is a log. It's literally a log cabin. The other one, again, looks like a log cabin on the outside. It looks like a cabin on the inside. It's themed that way. It's got mountain theming. It sits in the woods, and so that is that premium experience that we're giving to people, and not just some random 3 or 4 bedroom brick home built in the 70s with a 2-car garage. That is not the experience that folks are looking for. If you're looking at a beach market or something like that, in my mind, a beach home is one of the homes that's close to the beach, sits up on stilts, or, and is light and airy, very, high ceilings and such. If you're at a lake, it's got a lake decor. And so just make sure that you're getting properties that are going to produce the most amount of revenue for the amount that you are putting in. And so when we're looking at how much revenue that any given property is going to make on Airbnb, there's a lot of different places for you to get that data from, and some are better than others. The first thing that we're going to look at is just the property that we've held the longest. This is our true log cabin. We call it Moonlight Ridge, and it was a property that we picked up for about $525,000. We listed it on Airbnb VRBO for rent right at the end of June. So we only have a couple days rented in June. And so for the most part, our first bit of this was from July to the end of the year. And then I have all of our financial data up through February in the gross revenue that we've made on this from essentially July 1-ish to the end of February 2022 is $61,218.55. I haven't put in any of our gross revenue amounts for March, and that I believe is going to run about $8,000 or $9,000. So we're looking around $70,000 in gross revenue from July of 2021 until February of 2022. I have every reason to believe that we will do somewhere between $8,000 and $10,000 average for the next 3 months, putting us very solidly in the $95,000 to $100,000 range for this building. Again, this is a top tier type of place. People love staying there. It gets great reviews, so we can charge premium prices for it. So that is a real life example of what we are getting in an average calendar year. And this is, I believe that we undersold last year's rates tremendously because we were just getting into this game and, kind of dialing in where our pricing is. A lot of times people will go to these giant aggregate sites, and these are like the Zillows for a short-term rental. They take in a lot of data, try to distill it down, and give you one number that they believe is a reasonably good estimate. And you guys know how Zillow goes for valuing homes. A lot of these work the same way. So the first one that we are going to go to is Airdna, and I'll get this pulled up on the screen for you guys. Like I said, these places give no real value to quality or to the experience that you're giving to people. They're going to look at how many bedrooms and baths, square footage, the range from the particular address that you are searching, and they are going to give you an aggregate amount. They're not going to take into account properties that are poorly managed, properties that are managed very well, properties that are self-managed that typically get higher rental amounts, and properties that are managed by property managers that typically have lower revenue amounts. And so when we look at this this same property, this is, put in the address of our cabin, the same one that we have done about $62,000 for up through the end of February. When we put that in, 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, we sleep 6 guests because we have a queen pull-out couch as well, so we can do a maximum of 6. We are looking at a gross revenue amount here of $67,800 for an entire calendar year. And now, as you guys can see, we have already, almost achieved that amount in just 8 months. So, that just kind of goes to show what you are going to get out of these aggregate property valuation tools. Same thing if we go to this company Rabbu, I believe it's called Rabbu, you get the same sort of aggregate property type of thing. When we put this in, the average amount of rent that we're going to be seeing is $4,419 in a month, which is very much lower than what our actual numbers are. And if we even bump that up to the 75th percentile, we're looking at an average of $5,700 a month, which again that's right around $70,000 a year. That is going to be extremely low for the property that we have. And as a matter of fact, I'll even pull up this particular our particular listing for this. And what you'll see is that the average daily rate of $266, occupancy of 77%, the revenue of $61.41. That is all based on bookings and data for the next 30 days. So depending on when you look at this, it will depend on what the projection is for the entire year. So if you look at it in January and February, those are not great months for the Gatlinburg Pigeon Forge area. They're the slower months. We still make money, but they're not the best months. If you would look at this in June or July or October or November, when the leaves are in full effect or just in the middle of the summer, this will probably be significantly higher. And so it depends on when you are looking at this data on these aggregate sites, and you just need to take them with a grain of salt and just know that the data that you're getting is probably watered down from where you can be looking at. So the way that that I like to go after these properties, try to evaluate how much money that we're going to be getting out of them, is just simply using comparables. If you guys are with the short-term shop, that is a very popular real estate brokerage. One of the founders of that calls this the enemy method. And it's basically just shopping comparables. And so what you are going to do is you are going to go into Airbnb. You're going to go into VRBO. And you're going to try to find properties that are managed in a similar way that you're managed in. We always recommend self-management. I believe that the amount of money that you can get out of self-management is going to be significantly higher than using a property manager. So what I do is I look for self-managed properties that have a decent amount of reviews, definitely more than 20, probably more than 50, 100 or more would be even better. And then I go start looking at their actual rates, and I'll look at their rates during the weekdays, I'll look at their rates during the weekends, and then I'll also make sure that I look at several different seasons. You're going to want to look at what you're getting in January, the low season, and then what you're getting in June and July at the high season. If you're looking for a beach place, you can pretty much count on January and February being very slow, to the point of you might only have 1 or 2 reservations for those entire 2 months. So I'll start looking and around the April mark, how much they're getting for their nightly rates there, and then how much they're getting in the dead of summer when you're going to make the bulk of your money, and then when does it tail off in that market? Is it October? Is it November? Depending on where you are as far as your latitude. And how warm it stays for into the fall, or how warm it gets in the spring. And then once you guys look at that, you can start making estimates. Just say if you're 80% occupied, start taking that average daily rate that you guys are able to kind of put together from looking at all those comparables, and say this is how much revenue we can expect if we are booked at 80%. This is how much at 75%. And then you can start looking at, does this deal make sense? And the way I look at that is I look at it from a break-even perspective. Am I going to be able to easily make my break-even costs, even if we have a large recession, even if, there is bad things going on in the economy and the world and what have you, and I can just hold this and, just cover costs until things come back. And then I try to see what is the maximum amount of revenue that I'm going to be able to get out of this building, reasonably considering all of the different factors that we've just mentioned. And then if it falls somewhere in between there, it usually falls higher on the towards the maximum amount, then I know that it's a good deal. But at least I can get a solid example of what I can expect for revenue out of any given Airbnb, VRBO, short-term rental property. Now, once you guys have narrowed that down and you feel pretty comfortable about the numbers, start looking for owners groups. A great place to look for this is on Facebook. Just type in your location and then owners group or rental group or something like that. You can usually type in, like Panama City, and you'll start getting, Panama City Beach, Panama City owners group, Panama City, blah, 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 blah. And you can go in there, and once you're confident that you think you want to get into that market, join those groups and start talking to those owners directly, and they will probably be able to give you much more detailed information on what the rates are in your area that you're looking in, what you can expect as far as cleaners, handymen, maintenance people. I got videos on all of that so that you can know that it's going to be easy to run a short-term rental there. There's plenty of infrastructure built out for that, and you can really start dialing in your rates. And you'll get to a point where you've looked at so many properties, you've talked to so many owners and people that do business down there, that you can probably look at almost any property and immediately know what the range is that thing is going to produce. For example, in the Smoky Mountains, I know that like a studio or one bedroom is probably going to make between $60,000 and $75,000. A nice two bedroom is going to be anywhere from $75,000 to $100,000, maybe even $105,000 or $10,000. A three bedroom is probably going to do anywhere from $90,000 to $115,000 or so, and a four bedroom you're going to start looking at rates up to $150,000. 5 bedroom, 175, and six bedroom, you're probably going to be looking at anywhere from, $225 or more annually at least. Add a pool to that situation, like an indoor pool, you can probably tack on another $40,000 or $50,000 of gross revenue. So that's just the way that you guys are going to be able to dial in your minds and be able to really get down deep into what it is that your particular Airbnb or VRBO property can potentially make using all of those different things to just dial in your pricing. Because guys, if you guys are out there purchasing a rental home that costs $500,000 or $750,000, million plus, you're going to want to have a pretty darn good idea of what your numbers are going to be so that you're making sure that you are going to be able to not only cover costs, but have tons of money left over to put in your pocket, because that is the entire point of this. I want you guys to click on the videos that are on the screen right now. These are going to give you, again, insights onto how we run our Airbnb business, are the properties that we have, how to price, how to find handymen, the people that you are going to need to successfully run your business from a distance, because most people are going to be running these things remotely. Be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, the notification bell, hit the like button, because that really helps me out in the YouTube algorithm. I appreciate you guys watching today, and I'll see you in the next one.